Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. I have 11 o'clock Eastern time, and let me say good morning, everyone. I want to welcome you all to the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. My name is Jerry Shockey. I oversee all the youth and educational programs here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and we're extremely excited to have you guys participate in the Heart of the Hall of Famer series featuring Pro Football Hall of Famer Coach Marv Levy. And, the real idea and premise behind this is a lot of you are new to this, is really to convey what it took to get in the Hall of Fame beyond just the athletic ability. We know the players and the coaches are great examples of skill and talent, athleticism, and all those sorts of things, but it took a lot more. There's a lot of people that have the knowledge of the game, but can't necessarily go on to be a head coach or a Hall of Fame head coach. So it took those 6 pillars that you those trustworthiness, respect, responsibility, fairness, caring, citizenship, and all those sorts of pillars to make it, and a lot more, obviously, beyond that, to make it into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And I've got a little secret for you guys, that these aren't just character qualities to being a great coach or a great football player. These are character qualities to being a Hall of Famer in everyday life, whether it's in your school, whether it's in your youth groups that you're involved with, whether it's at your home, whether it's in your community, whatever it might be. So you guys have the awesome opportunity to ask one of the greatest minds in pro football history questions about what obstacles he faced, what type of things did he look for in players, and those sorts of things. So we've got an awesome opportunity for you guys to do that. But there are a number of folks that I need to thank first and foremost, because without them, this program does not happen. And first, we need to thank our partners there at Extreme Networks. I know there's a whole team of folks that have been helping making this possible. Gene Mickelson, Michael Cavelli, I believe Thomas Quinn is there at our host site at Loyola. So thank you, Thomas, for being there. Dennis Everson, Mark Schubert, David Savage. There's a whole number of folks that help make this possible. So thank you very much for that. We need to thank our friends at Loyola Academy in Wilmot, Illinois. Principal Dr. Ball, Dr. Catherine Ball, thank you very much for opening your doors there for Mr. Levy and allowing him to come utilize your studios or your room there, your conference room. Coach John Holisak, thank you very much for making the arrangements here. For those of you that don't know, Coach John Holisak was actually a former player of Coach Levy's as well. So it's great to have a kind of a reunion there as well. And then last but definitely not least, we have to thank the IT person there, Tony D'Amico. We've been testing over the past week and a half, corresponding. Tony, thank you for all your work and making this possible. We greatly appreciate it. It wouldn't be possible without you. We have to thank the teachers for all these schools, because you're the ones that are making the arrangements possible, preparing your students and all those sorts of things. But last but definitely not least, we need to thank the students, because you're the stars of the show here today. You're the ones going to be asking the questions and really driving the programs. We have Mr. Levy having a few minutes of opening remarks, but the rest of the program is going to be based off the questions that you guys have for Mr. Levy. So with that being said, what I would like to do is ask all the schools in just a second here. I'm going to call upon your school. And feel free, for number one, we want to have Coach Levy see where everybody is. And then number two, all the other sites can see where you are as well. But when I introduce your school, if you want to unmute your microphone at that time and give a shout out, show a little school spirit or whatever it might be in doing so. And the first one, I'm going to actually ask Mr. Levy to plug his ears for a second, because I'm going to have the students that are behind him that are tuning in from Loyola Academy. If you guys want to go ahead and give a shout out in the background there, go ahead, Loyola. Thank you very much, Loyola. We greatly appreciate your support and all this. And obviously, we're not going to have you guys mute your microphones, because we're going to keep you open all day, since that'll be Mr. Levy there. We're going to go to Lower City, Ohio for Buckeye Trail Elementary School. Go ahead. Thank you, Buckeye Trail. Thank you, Mike Leggett's there. We're going to stay in Ohio again, in Browns country, Berea, Ohio, Ford Middle School.
Hang on.
Unmute.
Hello.
All right. Thank you very much, Ford. We're going to go to Brandon, Mississippi at Rankin County Schools. Go ahead.
Ready?
Thank you, Emily there. Thank you, Rankin. We appreciate it. And go ahead and mute there. And last but definitely not least, we're going to go to Raleigh, North Carolina, Walnut Creek.
Go ahead, guys.
Thank you very much. And just so you guys know, that's the order of the questions we're going to go in here today. So we're going to go from Loyola, Buckeye Trail, Ford, Rankin, and Walnut Creek. But let me get to the introduction of our speaker here today, and that's Pro Football Hall of Famer, Coach Marv Levy. And in 1986, when Coach Levy was chosen to direct the fortunes of the Buffalo Bills, he brought with him more than 30 years of coaching experience. As a graduate of Coe College, Levy began his pro coaching career in 1969 as a kicking teams coach for the Philadelphia Eagles before joining George Allen's staff as a special teams coach for the Los Angeles Rams in 1970. He followed Allen to Washington in 1971, where he served as the Redskins special teams coach for 2 seasons. Levy then served as the head coach of the Montreal Alouettes of the Canadian Football League for 5 seasons. After 2 CFL Grey Cup championships, Levy returned to the NFL in 1978 as head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs. When he joined the Chiefs, the team was coming off a 2-12 season. Under his leadership, the team steadily improved, posting a 4-12 mark, then 7-9, 8-8, and 9-7. He left the Chiefs after a disappointing 3-6 mark in the strike-shortened 1982 season. Midway through the 1986 season, following a 2-year hiatus from coaching and 1 season as a head coach of the Chicago Blitz from the USFL, the United States Football League at that time, Levy returned to the NFL as head coach of the Buffalo Bills. He finished the season with a 2-5 record. In 1987, his first full season with the Bills, the team returned to respectability with a record of 7-8 and were in the playoff hunt throughout most of the season. The following season, the team posted a 12-4 record and won the first of 6 AFC Eastern Division titles. With his high-powered, no-huddle offense, something that's irregular nowadays in many cases, that was not seen at that time that Mr. Levy utilized, Levy, who was a master's degree in English history from Harvard, so obviously a very intelligent man, and we're talking here with as well, went on to set a new standard for NFL coaches as he led his AFC Championship team not to 1, not to 2, not to 3, you guys are probably studying this already, but to 4 consecutive Super Bowl appearances. From 1988 through 1997, the Bills were first in the AFC in winning percentage and second only to the San Francisco 49ers in the NFL. Levy was the winningest coach in Bills history, recorded a 112-70 regular season record, and was 11-8 in the postseason playoffs during his 11.5 years with the Buffalo Bills. He was named NFL Coach of the Year in 1988 and AFC Coach of the Year in 1988, 93, and 95. Now, before we ask Mr. Levy to share his opening remarks, what we are going to do is I'm going to just show you a very brief highlight film.
I entered Harvard Law School in the fall of 1950, stayed about 3 weeks and said to myself, I want to be a coach.
Marv Levy first became a head coach in the NFL in 1978 with the Kansas City Chiefs. But he is best known as the leader of the Buffalo Bills from 1986 through his retirement in 1997.
Where else would you rather be than right here, right now? Way to come back, guys. Way to hang in there.
Levy led the Bills to 8 postseason appearances in 11 years and was the first man to coach a team to 4 consecutive Super Bowls.
And I can't think of a place that we would rather be than right here, right now, with Pro Football Hall of Fame coach, Mr. Marv Levy. If you guys can all unmute your microphones and join me in giving a warm round of applause for him. All right, we'll ask everyone to go ahead and mute your microphones. And Mr. Levy, if you'd like to share your opening remarks, go ahead.
I sure would. As you indicated, Jerry, those words, where else would you rather be, through 47 years of coaching along the sidelines, before the kickoff of every game I ever coached, when the players would gather around, I would say to them, where else would you rather be than right here, right now? And as I sit here at this moment, there's no place else I'd rather be than right here, right now, because I know I'm sitting amongst and being viewed by many highly motivated young people who are interested in sports, but in a lot more beyond the field of sports. You know, I was once asked, how do you motivate those guys, those football players? And the answer to that one was easy. The answer is we selected only highly motivated people to come onto our team, people who were hungering to learn, who were looking for good direction, who were looking for good teammates, who were looking to accomplish as much as they could. You know, I was once said, I heard it once said, I should say, that the players have said, boy, I have the will to win. I have a better question. Don't tell me you have the will to win. Do you have the will to prepare? Because if you don't have the will to prepare, you really don't have the will to win. You're just talking. It takes some good, long, hard work. I can remember the first words I said to our team in mid-season of 1986 when I did take over as head coach of the Buffalo Bills. And those were words which I will convey now to the young people in this current audience. And that is, what it takes to succeed or win, the same idea, is simple, but it isn't easy. For instance, in football, if you run, throw, block, tackle, catch, kick better than your opponent, your chances of winning are huge. But that takes a lot of work to get to do those things better. It doesn't just happen. If you're a good teammate, it's simple. So it's simple, but not easy. And I've been privileged to coach some outstanding young players. One of them, where I'm sitting here today at Loyola Academy in suburban Chicago, Wilmette, Illinois, John Holisek, the outstanding coach of the Loyola Academy football team, is one of those outstanding individuals. So let me say it again. There's no place else I'd rather be than right here, right now. And I'll look forward to visiting with anybody and to try to answer at least any questions directed my way.
Thank you very much, Coach, and we appreciate your opening remarks. And I love that comment because the will to prepare to win, and that's one of the reoccurring themes that we have that comes up with our Hall of Famers. Is that we always, a lot of students want to be the Sunday NFL player, but they don't want to be the Sunday NFL player if it takes what it takes Monday through Saturday to get to be that Sunday NFL player. So students' preparation in anything in life, whether it's to be a football coach or for a game, whether it's for a test, whether it's for a project, whether it's for a program like this. I mean, thinking about the preparation that we put in place to make sure that hopefully everything goes smoothly here today. So far, so good, but nonetheless, it takes preparation. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in the order of Loyola Academy, Buckeye Trail, Ford Middle School, Rankin County, Walnut Creek. And one thing that I ask schools is that obviously keep your microphones muted until the question is asked. But even immediately following it, after you ask that question, if you can mute your microphone immediately following that as well, so we can eliminate any background noises during Mr. Levy's responses. And let me just keep in mind here for a second. There've been 25,000 players and another 1,000 or so coaches that have been involved with the NFL. You're talking to one of the elite. There's only 288 members of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and out of that's only, I don't know, maybe 30 coaches or somewhere in that ballpark. So you're talking to one of the greatest ever. So keep that in mind. I encourage you to ask those challenging, thought-provoking questions about what obstacles that Mr. Levy faced in his life and throughout. So with that being said, let's go ahead. First question, and I do want to remind schools too, is to make sure to speak up very loudly and clearly into the microphones. If it doesn't come through so clearly, I will repeat the question so Mr. Levy can hear that. So let's go ahead with Loyola Academy. If you want to ask the first question, I know we did a test run beforehand, but let's see how good we do in game time.
Okay.
Hi, Coach.
Hi.
How did growing up during the Depression and then serving your country in World War II shape your character?
Okay. Well, yes. Everybody has their own era, of course, in which they grow up, and they remember it well. During the Depression, we did it shape character? I think so. Tom Brokaw wrote a book about my group, called it The Greatest Generation. We're very complimented. He wrote it because of how we dealt with the Depression and then World War II. 16 million of us were in service during that period of time. Now only 1 million still are alive. But we became so aware of what our country meant, what our families meant to us, what our friends and teammates meant. It certainly let us know that hard work, when you grew up during the Depression, when you saw what your parents went through just to keep your family alive, showed us what hard work meant. And I think that spilled over onto many others of my generation as well.
Great first question to start off the program. So thank you very much, Loyola. We're gonna fly to Lower City, so to speak, virtually fly to Lower City, Ohio, Buckeye Trail.
What was it like to be part of one of the greatest comebacks in all time against 1993 Houston Oilers?
Okay, I think that was probably hard for him to hear, but I think I know it. I think I heard that as well. What was it like to be in part of the greatest comeback against the Houston Oilers?
It was remarkable. Wow, you remember pretty well. That was about 20 years ago that it happened in 1993, where we went into the game. Our great quarterback, Jim Kelly, was injured. Our best running back, Thurman Thomas, was injured, couldn't play. Our tremendous linebacker, Cornelius Bennett, was injured. He couldn't play. So we went into the game, the playoff. We had been to 2 previous Super Bowls. We're now in the playoffs, trying to get into the third, but with many of our stars injured. At halftime, we were losing the game 28-3. The first pass we threw in the second half was intercepted. They returned it for a touchdown. Now down 35-3. Well, the previous young man asked me a question, what it was like to grow up during World War II. There was the great Prime Minister of England, Winston Churchill, who during dark days of the war said, never, never, never surrender. That spilled over onto our team. They didn't surrender. Somehow or other, we fought our way back. When the game ended, the score was tied, 35-35, 38-38. I take that back. We scored 5 touchdowns, they 3. It's something I will always remember. I'll always remember the young men that did that. It was a great thrill, a great memory.
Thank you very much. Another great question there, Buckeye Trail. Let's go to Bree, Ohio, Ford Middle School.
Do you think you were a different person on the field than off the field?
Am I a better person?
Do you feel you're a different person on the field than off the field?
Well, no, young lady, the environment was different. But you want to be the same person. You want to be genuine. The show I wanted to put on was concentration on what I'm doing, not a bunch of crazy sidebars, beating my chest and inventing a dance in the end zone or something of that nature. It was exciting. There's no feeling like walking up that tunnel on game day. Certainly my adrenaline was at a higher level on game day maybe than otherwise. And, I used to say to our players, fellas, you don't get pro football players get paid very well. But I used to tell them, you don't get paid for Sunday. You get paid for preparing for Sunday. Sunday is fun. And no matter how much you're paid, don't ever forget why you first played this game. Played it because it was fun. Keep it that way.
Thank you very much, Ford. Let's go to Brandon, Mississippi, Rankin County.
What advice do you have for young people today to be able to stand up as a person of character?
What I think the question was, what would I say to young people about how to be a person of character?
Correct. Yep.
I think that was yes. Well, again, when I say the answer is simple, but it's not easy. Be honest, respect the people with whom you work. I always said, that when I was hired by Ralph Wilson, the team owner of the Buffalo Bills, he said, what kind of a coach are you going to be? And I did explain it to him. But I said, Mr. Wilson isn't just a great coach that wins besides great players. It's a great coaching staff. The ability to work well with others is a very important aspect of character. Sometimes you disagree, but you don't have to be disagreeable in nature. You can have a give and take which says, I don't agree with you, rather than say, oh, you're a dummy because you don't believe what I believe. I don't think that's the... Now, there's one other thing I would like to point out. we were always looking for players of high character, but we did not mix up character with personality. Some guys are more outgoing or more extroverted. Other people maybe are more laid back, more quiet, more contained. But do they show up for work every day? Do they not blame others when things go wrong? Do they go back to work when they've met a disappointment? Let me tell you something. If you're going to be in sports, you're not going to win them all. Some days it's not going to happen right. So those are all qualities of character that are important. But honesty, care for others certainly rank near the very top of the list.
Thank you very much, Rankin County. Let's go to Walnut Creek in Raleigh, North Carolina. Oh, I see you guys. There we go. Go ahead, Mr. Morrison.
Which character traits helped you success?
Helped you succeed at Harvard?
What character traits helped you succeed at Harvard, Mr. Levy?
Probably just studying hard. I have to tell you something, and this is a unique story. In high school, I wasn't a real good student. I wasn't going quite the right way. Till my senior year, I had a great homeroom teacher that steered me right, and I did right. But when I was in service, then right after I graduated high school, it was during World War II. I was in the Army Air Corps. And one time after I was injured in a hospital, there was only one book. It was called A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens. I'd been assigned it in high school, and I faked it to get through. And, but now the only book in the library, I read it, I was enthralled, and all of a sudden I wanted to study. Harvard, and so I got good grades as an undergraduate and was able to go to graduate school at Harvard. But it was a fantastic experience. Everybody around was one of the most highly motivated people you can imagine. The players on the football team and in the basketball team, they were the true essence of what the term student athlete meant. They dedicated themselves in both counts. They wanted that education. They wanted to play. They wanted to be the best. And if they recognized that they weren't, they still gave it their best.
And Mr. Levy, if I can add in just a question here, just before we go back to Loyola Academy, can you talk with them, about, we don't always make it in the Hall of Fame. We don't always win a Super Bowl. We don't always get an A on the test. What advice do you have for those students that even though they gave 110% and they didn't get the desired result that they wanted? What advice do you have for them?
Well, there was a great sports writer many years ago named Grantland Rice who wrote a line, when the one great scorer comes to write against your name, meaning the Lord, he writes not that you won or lost, but how you played the game. Did you give it your best? That's his quote. Did you give it your best? Did you honor your opponent and your teammates? If you didn't win, did you throw in the towel or did you go back to work? This may be quite a digression right now, Jerry and all the students here, but since graduating, quit coaching, I've written some books, and I'm currently in the midst of writing a book, 200 pages of poetry, and there's one poem from it, if I have a few moments, that I'd like to take the time to read because it addresses pretty much the question that was just asked, and it's called Honor the Game, and this is the poem. When we walk up the tunnel, we hear all the noise. Our hearts beat faster, and we feel all the joys in knowing that the game is about to begin. We're prepared. We're ready. We want to win. So do those fellas on the bench over there, against whom we'll compete. But let it be fair. Let's hope both teams give it effort to admire and play by the rules as we grunt and perspire. Let us be aware that it is truly a game. May both winner and loser know no shame. May we play every moment with honest zeal, and for our opponent have respect that's real. When it's all over and the score is posted, let no one ever say that the winner is boasted. Celebrate and mourn for just a short while, then go back to work, make that your style. Play hard, play clean, and play to win, but win or lose, dig right back in. honor the game, and if that's what you choose, no matter the score, you'll never lose. That's what I answered to that question that was asked.
Thank you very much, Coach. Let's go back to Loyola Academy. If you want, the next student wants to step up there next to Coach Levy.
Hi, Coach. My question for you is, who today do you find to be a good example of a compelling leader, and what defines that for you?
Okay.
Great question.
I'm assuming you mean in the sports world or anything. You've got a pretty compelling leader right here in your coach, John Holisek, who played for us and embodied so many of the qualities that I've just talked about. But if you're talking about today, and it's not just because he's a great player, I have very great reason to say what I'm about to say. The great quarterback with the Denver Broncos, Peyton Manning, I don't know if I've ever seen anyone. I knew the people in Indianapolis very well when he was there, and now he's out in Denver. I've never seen anyone prepare to the degree that young man prepares, that man prepares. He's not that young anymore. But his preparation would blow you away. I went to some of their spring. He was in there in the film room. He was constantly working on a technique. The man who coached him was a quarterback for us with the Buffalo Bills, Frank Wright, the quarterback who led the greatest comeback in the history of the NFL. And those were Frank's work ethics, even though he backed up Jim Kelly most of the time. Frank is now coaching the offensive coordinator with the San Diego Chargers and doing a great job of developing Phillip Rivers, their quarterback. But there's one example of an athlete who I know. There's a baseball Hall of Famer who had a work ethic you can't believe. I think you guys are mostly too young, but he played for the Cubs, my hometown, Ryan Sandberg, who had a work ethic that was unbelievable. He continues it now as manager of the Philadelphia Phillies.
Thanks.
You're welcome, Ian.
Thank you. And little known, Coach Levy knows this, but Frank Reich also led the greatest comeback in college football history as well. So
he was a backup to Jim Kelly in the pros, led the greatest comeback. He was the backup to Boomer Esiason at the University of Maryland. Boomer got hurt in an Orange Bowl game, and Frank led the greatest collegiate comeback. Isn't that amazing? That's right, Jerry.
And that is a testament to preparation. Even if you aren't going to be the starter, being prepared. I think an awesome example for you guys is Aaron Rodgers. Some of you are old enough to know when Aaron Rodgers was still sitting behind Brett Favre. And here's a guy that was sitting behind a legend, but he was preparing himself that when that legend stepped aside, when he got the opportunity, that he was ready. And boy, was he ready. He went on one of the spurts for about 2 years, one of the greatest 2-year spurts for a quarterback in NFL history. So again, that word preparation keeps coming up in everything that we're talking about here. So thank you, Loyola. Great. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, there's nothing real romantic or glamorous about the preparation aspect of it. It's just hard work, repeat, making a mistake and rectifying it, all of that. So that all contributes.
And yeah, we just did a program with Bart Starr not too long ago that he talked about the great Vince Lombardi. And Vince Lombardi's one of his quotes was that it's not just preparation, it's a unique preparation. It's going above and beyond what everybody else is doing. So, and as Coach Levy said, there's nothing special or unique. It's pretty simple, but it's not easy in many cases.
I give you one more on that. Benjamin Franklin, he said, failure to prepare is preparing to fail. There's another aspect of it.
I'm going to write that one down. I'm not – Coach Levy is a historian. I'm not going to go quote for him because he'll just keep going and I'll be done. So thank you very much. Let's go to Buckeye Trail.
What does it mean to be a good role model?
I got to ask a lot of my role models the answer to that one, I think. But what does it mean to be a good role model? Well, I think you want to be a good example in terms of what you do to your family, your friends, people who maybe you're meant to instruct. You should have reason to respect yourself. And I think if you're honest, hardworking, and care about others, that's good reason to do it. But you don't have to beat your chest and flaunt it. But it is still have that good, warm feeling that I'm doing the right thing. So it means a lot.
And if I can add on to that question, Coach, who do you think should be these young people's role models? Do you think they should be athletes? Do you think they should be people in their circle? Who would you suggest?
Well, it could be people in any aspect of it. In any aspect of their life. Their parents certainly are important. At schools, their teachers are important. And maybe there's a respected classmate or one that's maybe just a little bit older that they look at and they say, boy, I really respect that person. Those are a few. It's distracting to see people who are in positions of great responsibility who it turns out are not playing by life's rules. Yes.
Thank you very much. Another great question there, Buckeye Trail. Let's go to Ford.
Knowing that you went to Harvard, how did that education relate to your coaching job?
How did Harvard educate me and do what did the lady say? What was the second part?
How did your Harvard education help you in your coaching?
Okay. Well, coaching really is teaching. It really is teaching. Not just the fundamentals and the skills, but the the character qualities that go with it and others. And the education I received at Harvard was tremendous. It was wonderful. How did it help me in my coaching job? A man who was the headmaster of a private school in St. Louis came through looking for a history teacher and a coach. And as he looked at all those who were graduating, he liked my resume or credentials or whatever they were, and he had come to Harvard looking for someone who not only could coach a team well, but who could coach that history class in a way that he would be happy. So that's one way that it helped. No, I think going to an outstanding institution certainly does help, as long as you follow up on it and don't think that that's the only answer.
Thank you. Great question there, Ford Middle School. Let's go to Brandon, Mississippi, Rankin County.
What character trait helped you to become a successful coach?
Well, you hope there's more than one, but if I had to nail one down, I'd say perseverance, sticking with it, applying for jobs and getting turned down, and not giving up. You stay with it, perseverance. When you lose games, you stay with it. When I was coaching the Buffalo Bills, I would often get telephone calls from young people who would say, Coach Levy, could you help me out? How do I become a coach in the National Football League? And my answer, I didn't mean to offer a slap in the face or anything, was, young man, if that's the only way you're going to be happy coaching, you don't want to coach. I never dreamed that would happen. I happened to be with good teams and be an assistant to good men and get good opportunities. A lot of it came because I persisted. Of all the jobs I had during my coaching career, I may have applied for 100 more and gotten not hired in the process. So my answer is perseverance, sticking with it. Don't give up. Don't get discouraged, as long as you know you're doing the right things.
And I think football's there's no better analogy for that. You get knocked down, you get back up. And I think football's a perfect image of that philosophy that we should take in all elements of life. So let's go to Walnut Creek.
How did football help teach you the 6 pillars of character?
I'll repeat that. How did football teach you the 6 pillars of character? Trustworthiness, respect, responsibility, fairness, caring, and citizenship.
Well, football alone doesn't do it. You have to be receptive to it, but it certainly offers all those opportunities. Trustworthiness. We used to have a term with our players: don't be dumb and don't be dirty. I hear now and then about some people teaching players to try and injure a guy on the other team. It revolts me to hear that. That's not what the game is about. That's not what the game is about at all. Football, you have to be trustworthy. What's trustworthy mean? It means that they know you're going to prepare. They know you care about your opponent. That and so many of those 6 pillars are involved in doing things. It's very easy to translate them into what it takes to be a good teammate and a good player. Remember, most sports, almost all, are team sports. And team means you care about the others with whom you're associated. And your success, no matter how good or talented you might be, is also dependent on those around you as well.
And I think it goes along with trustworthiness and respect and some of the other pillars. Coach, can you talk with them a little bit about how important accountability is within that team, that team environment?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You don't have to be the kind of person that's always tearing yourself apart if something goes wrong. But when you didn't do the job right, you don't say, well, the guy next to me didn't pick up the blitz or something of that nature. You're accountable. If you lost the game, did you really prepare right during the week? If you didn't, you better own up and not do it again. Accountability is recognizing what you might have done differently. We talked earlier about those 4 Super Bowls to which our team went, and I think most good football fans know that we went to those 4 Super Bowls. We didn't win any of them. But, just think about it. In the National Football League, there are 32 highly talented teams that come to camp every year just hoping to make the playoffs. 12 of them do, the other 20 go home. Of those 12 teams, 11 of them finish the season with a loss. Only one, the Super Bowl champion, goes all the way. Well, all right, getting back to our Super Bowl losses, what do you do after you lose? Do you lie there and whimper? Do you throw in the towel? Do you give up? Or do you say, what could I have done differently? How might I prepare better? Look at the great people with whom I'm working around here. I'm going back to work. That's accountability. The first game we lost, first Super Bowl game we lost, was a very memorable one. We were losing 20-19 with about 2 or 3 minutes to go in the game. We got the ball on our own 15-yard line, drove all the way down to the opponent's 29. A field goal made would have won it for us. Scott Norwood was our field goal kicker. We'd won 3 or 4 games during the year on the way, by the way, with Scott kicking the winning field goal late in the game. Well, he kicked it from 47 yards away, went that far outside the right upright. We lost the game, 20-19. In the locker room after the game, Scott was sitting there very depressed, of course, and I walked over to try to say something to encourage him. And before I could think of a word or two, one of our great linebackers, Darryl Talley, a great defensive back, Nate Odoms, came by and said, Scott, if we would have made that tackle on 3rd and 14, it wouldn't have come down to that. They wouldn't have got that touchdown. Andre Reed, who's going into the Hall of Fame this year, Scott walked by. Scott, if I would have hung on to that pass on the 15-yard line, we would have got a touchdown instead of a field goal. We would have had enough points to win. Player after player came by. They were all accountable. Well, this was the kind of people that were on that team. Back to work they went and fought their way back year after year despite the devastation of not attaining that impossible dream. But I've never seen a closer-knit group of individuals than those guys, and they remain that way today.
And as we were talking before the connection, those of you that might not know that the great quarterback Jim Kelly is battling cancer right now. And I think there's 30, something like Thurman Thomas shared this last week, that there's 30, 35, 36 living from that Buffalo Bills team, and already 25 or 26 of them have already been to visit Jim Kelly. So again, it's that unity, that family structure, that backing each other up. I mean, it's on and off the field. It's not just on the gridiron. It's a lifelong relationship that's built in those locker rooms. So just another testament to what Mr. Levy's already talking about. Let's go back to Loyola.
Okay. How do you feel that preparing for football and other sports compares to preparing for other aspects of life?
Good question. How do I don't know if everybody heard the question. How do they feel? How do I feel that preparing for football or other sports compares with other aspects of life? And I think it begins to show the quality of a person's character. Are you the kind of guy that dedicates yourself? And that applies whether on or off the field. And I'll go back again to that old term, student athlete, that players in college in particular, and many of our listeners here someday are going to be in college, don't understand that they're not there primarily to play football or basketball or whatever the sport may be. They're very primarily to get the education. And working hard in both areas helps you be better in the companion area. They both help you be better. So there are a lot of the same relationships. It shows what your character is, what your qualities are.
Thank you very much, Loyola. Let's go to Buckeye Trail.
What coach that you played for had the most profound influence in your life?
I think it was what coach that you played for had the most profound influence. So I think that's regardless of age or Little League or NFL or whatever.
Well, it's probably the coach that I played for at Coe College, a small Division III school. His name was Dick Clausen. He was, and he embodied so many of the qualities that I've been trying to espouse here today. He cared about the players on his team. We liked him. We got to know his family, and they were great. In fact, many years later, I hired his son as an assistant for me at the College of William and Mary. He later went on to coach in the NFL as an assistant with the Atlanta Falcons, his son. But Dick Clausen had a great one, and he's the one that told me when I left for Harvard, Marv, if you ever want to coach, you got a job here. And but he taught all high ideals. He taught good football. He taught the fundamentals well, and he was a fine citizen. Everything about him I admired.
Thank you very much. And you brought up the word citizen, Coach Levy. How much did you push? I just heard it recently. One of our Hall of Famers talked about Coach Eddie Robinson from Grambling, and one of the things that he pushed before he pushed being a great athlete was being a great citizen. How big of a focus was that in the Bills organization? I know how big a focus it was, but can you share with them how big of a focus that was of being a good citizen?
It was important, and we tried to convey that. And the community of Buffalo was a good place to play. They were very receptive to the players. A lot of the former players who didn't come from Buffalo have remained living there because they felt a warmness and a affection for the city. But you really admire. Now, there's some players who violate a lot of it, and I don't admire them and tell you something else no one else does. And they usually wind up in a bad way, whether it's jail or getting in trouble with the law or squandering their money foolishly that they've earned so well. Those who really apply themselves, well, my goodness, they've got a wonderful life ahead of them.
Thank you very much. Let's go to Ford in Berea, Ohio.
What separates a good coach from a great coach?
A good coach from a great coach. Yeah, well, that's a good question. And, certainly people are always going to take into account your won-loss records, of course. And I just think many of the same qualities that I think separate a good athlete from one that's a great athlete. Certainly you have to have ability. You have to have a dedication for the game. Intelligence doesn't hurt. It helps. And improving on it is meaningful. Being able to work well with others in the organization is so important. I think every great coach has three qualities. One, the ability to teach, to convey, to get across to the players on his team, even to his coaches, to get across to them what it's going to take. And for them to say, embrace it, to say, oh, yeah, that's good. The ability to teach. Second, the ability to work well with others in the organization. I've talked about that before. isn't just a great coach, it's everyone. I was fortunate in Buffalo. We had a great general manager, Bill Poyen, a great director of player personnel, John Butler, people in the front office. All of those were important. When we went to those Super Bowl games, our team owner took every single person in the organization, basically cleaned up at night, the switchboard operators, everybody, 200 plus people to the Super Bowl games, flew them down, hotel, meals, tickets, everything. And then the third quality, I think, is to be a straight shooter. Don't, when I'm out recruiting some guy, don't tell him, hey, you come with us, you're going to be our starting left guard. What if he isn't? What if some guy competes with him and does better? A better thing to tell him is, we have an opening. We need to find the right left guard. I like what I've seen of you. Come on in and compete. You got a great chance to do it if you live up to all that. So those are the three qualities: the ability to teach, ability to work well with others, be a straight shooter.
Thank you very much. Let's go to Rankin.
What character trait helped you overcome hard times?
What's the question, please, Jerry?
What character trait helped you overcome difficult times in your life?
Yeah. Well, you're going to have them, and you have to recognize them. You shouldn't welcome them. I know that. Having good friends, having a good support group is a lot. Once again, is determination and persistence. I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to give in. And you keep going. You keep going. I read a poem to you a little while ago. I'll quote another one that I once heard, and that is this. Again, it keeps harping on persistence. Here it is. Somebody said that it couldn't be done, but he with a chuckle replied, maybe it couldn't, but he would be one who wouldn't say so till he tried. So he buckled right in with the trace of a grin, never doubting or thinking to quit it. And he started to sing as he tackled that thing that couldn't be done, and he did it. Persistence is another one.
Thank you very much, Rankin County. Let's go to Walnut Creek. I see we have about 10 minutes left, so we should be able to get through a few more questions.
Of all the players you coached, who stands out as someone who showed all of the six character traits?
Great question. I'll repeat it so you can hear it, Coach. Out of all the players that you have coached in your life, who do you think it kind of exemplifies those six core pillars the best?
Oh, boy. Well, to say one player is almost impossible. That's like me asking the question, which hand made the noise? You know, there are so many. There's one in this room, John Holisek. We had a wide receiver and special teamer named Steve Tasker, who was had embodied tremendous qualities. But there's so many others. It's unfair to run through them. It's like saying, who do you love more, your mother or your father, to a degree? And but I like the question because it keeps you thinking, and it makes me recognize that there were so many players that embodied wonderful qualities. But everybody has to be themselves. No one is identically the same to another human being.
And I guess if we can add a follow-up question to that, then is, thinking about the players that you've had and being that your organization and yourself, really focused on guys of character, guys of high character. What would you say were some of the traits that your team exuded, character-wise?
All right. First of all, honesty. Show up for work on time every day. I keep talking about resilience. Bounce back when things don't always go right. I'm repeating a lot I said before. The desire, the will to prepare, to keep going, to not just play on game day. A sense of camaraderie that develops out of self-respect and caring about others. It's self-respect helps you tie it in. But if you start out by caring about other people, no matter who they are, where they're from, what's their background, anything, all of those things weave in to form the answer to that question.
Thank you very much. We're going to go back to Loyola Academy. If you guys have another one there, another student that wants to, bad analogy, but step up to the plate. Wrong analogy, I guess. Wrong sport.
After losing 4 consecutive Super Bowls, what did you do differently and what did you keep the same? And also, how did you mentally persevere and stay motivated individually and as a team throughout these years?
Okay, I got it. I got the question. Well, what did we do differently? Sometimes we might go back and say, should we have stayed at a different hotel that was closer to our practice facility? You examine so many things, but you also try to say, did we present too much of the game plan early? You reevaluate. For me to come up with a specific point-by-point answer is going to be difficult because it changed from game to game. We recognize also we played against some pretty good competition. There were good teams that were there. But how you prepare does change, but there are little tweaks, tiny little things in practice that we might shorten our practice even. Did we work the guys too hard before some of the games? All of that goes in. I'm feeling a little guilty right now because I'm not giving a very cohesive answer to the young man's question. But there were changes in preparation for me to point out that they were drastic, that something totally different wasn't. We went back to work and just tried to do better some of the things we had done before.
Thank you very much. And we'll go to Buckeye Trail.
How did football influence your attitude toward working with others?
Can you repeat that? I couldn't even hear that.
How did football influence your attitude toward working with others?
How did football influence your attitude towards working with others? So I guess that team environment.
Well, very much, because it's a prototypical teamwork. Football, you've got to work with so many others. It had great impact, but that doesn't apply just to football, of course, or just to athletics even. It can apply to any work the person does in their life. Some of the same things I've been talking about here apply to other areas as well. If you're working in an office, how do you get along with your coworkers? Do you respect them? Do you try to help them be better? Do you try to make your organization be better? You try to create an atmosphere where there is, despite all the hard work, fun. I really think that's important. Try to make whatever you do enjoyable, at least enjoyable. Not by doing something weird or off the wall, but make it enjoyable, and show it by caring about others with whom you work, and if you have customers that are your customers, and so forth.
Thank you very much, Buckeye Trail. Let's go to Ford.
What is your greatest memory in coaching?
Okay. My greatest memory in coaching is walking up the tunnel before the games on Sunday at Ralph Wilson Stadium. Now, we did that a number of times. The most memorable games I remember in coaching, of course, would be the great comeback against the Houston Oilers. It would be the first AFC championship game that we won in Buffalo on a bitter, cold, unbelievably snowy day. We were playing they were then in Los Angeles, the Los Angeles Raiders, and it was miserable that day. And I remember everybody was shivering so bad it was below zero, and the snow was twirling. And I remember the team on the sideline, and I said to them, when it's too tough for them, it's just right for us. We won the game 51-3. So I remember that one. I remember in college, I was coaching at the College of William & Mary, a fine academic institution. And we were playing the team that was the number 1 rated team in the country at that time, the Naval Academy. They had just beaten Michigan, Penn State, and Syracuse. And we upset them. It was the greatest comeback at that time in college football history. I'll remember that. Those are some. of the most memorable games.
Thank you very much, Ford. Let's go to Rankin County.
What character trait or character traits did you most appreciate in the players you coached?
Play that again, please. Could I get a little help on that
Yeah,
question?
what character traits, and we kind of already touched on this, but what character traits did you admire most about or look for most in your players?
Oh, yeah, we've talked about it quite a bit, I think, already. And it's, again, resilience, preparation, care about others. I'm repeating myself, really, but and I'm repeating because that's what I believe. I'm not going to come up with something new, but those were the main ones.
Sure, definitely. Let's go to Walnut Creek.
Did it take hard work to achieve the things you did in your career? And which character traits helped you succeed?
Did it take hard work to get to where you are today? And which character traits helped you succeed?
Could you repeat it one more time? I apologize. What is it, Jerry?
Did it take hard work to get where you were at? And what character trait do you think helped you most to get where you are today?
Well, it took hard work. Now, I'm going to qualify that. It took many hours, much dedication. When you're coaching during the season in the pros, for about a 7-month period, there is where you work 7 days a week, 16 hours a day and night, where you're there. So I put in those hours, but I never worked a day in my life. It was fun. It was enjoyable. Sometimes I was weary. Sometimes I was glad to get home and get in bed, or sometime on a Sunday night after a game to go out with my family for dinner at a nice restaurant. But again, it's love of what you do, very important. Enjoy what you do, and then dedicating yourself to it, even during the somewhat seemingly boring moments.
And I see we just got a couple of minutes left. I think it's only appropriate that we end with the gracious host there at Loyola. So if they have one more question that they would like to ask, if they want to step up there and ask away. See a young lady coming up here.
All right. What is it, young lady?
What qualities do you think contributed the most for you in being a successful coach and leader? And also, how did you capture the respect and admiration of today's modern and often self-centered athletes?
Okay. What qualities? The determination to study, to try to get better, to continue to get better, to never feel that you've reached the end point, that you could always improve. I think that's good, but not in a manner that you fret about it. Not in a manner you fret about it, a manner that you enjoy it. I think that was the main one. And what was the second part of your question, young lady?
How do you capture how did you capture the respect and admiration of often self-centered athletes?
How did I capture
the respect and admiration of athletes, the famous athletes?
Well, I think by doing some of the things I had mentioned before, be a straight shooter. Don't con them. Don't teach them to play dirty football. Teach them that the game is meaningful, that it's something that helps them in life, that it's not the only thing in life by a long shot. And by providing our players with good teammates too. And by constantly seeking to make things better, seeking to upgrade, but not in a foolish way. I mean, just being alert to do things like that.
Thank you very much, Coach Levy. I'm just students, so you know. I mean, it's kind of hard to see, but I'll hold it up here closely. I've got notes and notes and notes of what Coach Levy, because learning doesn't stop in the classroom. Obviously, we can learn here at the Hall of Fame, and I can learn personally and take these things and apply to my life as well. Out of all the things that you've said here today, and all the quotes, and obviously the focus on especially the desire to prepare, we've heard you say a number of times that being able to work well with others is very important in the team environment. Is there anything, A, that you would either like to reiterate, or B, something we didn't touch on that you'd like to touch on that to close out the program?
Well, I'll finish with another more brief even poem that I've written in that book that I'm currently working on. And it tends to answer your question, I think, pretty good. And the title of the poem is How to Speak Loudly. And I got loudly in quotes, which means I don't really mean that. But it goes this: don't tell us that you have the will to win. What matters is the will to prepare. Attack the task and refuse to give in. That's how we'll know that you really care. Rather than spending your energy bragging, go to work and get better each day. The best way to keep your hopes from sagging is to master how hard you work and how hard you play. Do not proclaim in tones spoken proudly what you are going to accomplish today, because what you do speak so loudly, no one can hear what you say. In other words, what you do speaks so loudly, no one can hear what you say. And I used to tell that to our players often. Don't tell me you're going to do this and do that. Do it. That's what'll be convincing. So I hope an answer to your question.
Sure. Thank you. Students, if you can join me and unmute your microphones and join me in giving a warm round of applause to Pro Football Hall of Famer Coach Marv Levy.